You're listening to Artistic Finance, show 173, a pre-LDI bonus episode. On today's show, we talk with Amanda Gougelmann, part of the software support team for Act Entertainment and a freelance stagehand. We discuss networking for advice, finding the market rate for a job, investing in yourself and your future, having multiple jobs to smooth over slow times, getting a job by starting a relationship at a trade show like LDI, and donating and raising money for causes while still paying the bills. Links to the video version are in the description box of the show or at artisticfinance.com/173 bonus. Now, before we get to the interview, I want to mention that it's the day after Thanksgiving here in the USA, which means I'm recording this while fighting off a food coma. It's a rule when you go to a holiday gathering that you have to try all the food. I can't not try everything. So Nicole and I actually went over ahead of our family's gathering to prep our crock pot apple cider. Now, I'm normally not a hot drink kind of person, but we were looking for a dish to take over, and all the main dishes and side dishes had already been claimed. And so Nicole thought of apple cider because we had recently watched Hocus Pocus, and in that, there's a little bit about apple cider, and it looked really good. So anyway, we made it for two gatherings this year, and I have to say it's amazing. Now you're not asking for the recipe, but here's what it is. You take pre-made apple cider, you heat it up in a crock pot for 2 hours, and you add brown sugar, cinnamon sticks, whole allspice, whole cloves, and sliced oranges. So not only does it look great, but it smells amazing. So anyway, just throwing this out, if you need a dish to share at an upcoming holiday gathering, it's a slight bit of legwork to prep it and transport it, but it makes you feel like you're at a German holiday market. It's so great. So anyway, we had a great time taking Theo over to my brothers who hosted the gathering. Now I have 8 siblings, and so with all the kids, etc., it's more than 40 people. And then you throw in 3 medium-sized dogs that they have, and it just becomes sort of mayhem. It's sort of like that episode of The Bear where it's just, hectic holiday gathering. But Theo had a great time running around, being chased, all the hubbub going on. And of course, he got to eat lots of cheese and carrots, which is his thing right now. And today we're extending the holiday by heading over to Nicole's family for leftover Thanksgiving dinner. And it's going to be a much calmer environment, but Theo's going to love it just as much. So we get 2 days of holiday merriment this time around. I hope you also had a wonderful holiday. And in the spirit of thanks, I want to thank you for listening to the show. To gather here every week and sit down with some of the amazing guests we've had, it's an honor for me that you take the time. Yesterday, I started re-listening to National Public Radio after taking a 12-year hiatus, but it reminded me of how great long-form content is. Conversations that aren't interrupted sort of every 10 minutes with an ad break. And that's what I love about podcasts is that you can go a full hour or longer without a break. So thank you for taking the time to be here for an hour or so every week. And to those of you who are Patreon patrons, thank you so much. Your support makes a difference, and I am beyond grateful for you. So if you're listening and hearing this, know that I am thankful for you, and I'm sending you love across space and time, and I hope that you can take that energy and put a pep in your step today. Now, without further ado, let's get to the show.
You are listening to Artistic Finance, where we help creatives learn about the business of show business.
Welcome and thank you for listening. I'm your host, Ethan Steimel, broadcasting from Lake St. Louis, Missouri.
And I'm your co-host, Lampert-Gréaux, Creative Director for Live Design and LDI, calling in from the tropical island of St. Bart's.
And I'm Amanda, and I'm calling in from a hotel in Delaware.
Oh, okay. You're on the road today.
I am.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know her, Amanda Gougelmann is part of the software support team at Act Entertainment, which is a big distribution company that handles major brands such as MA Lighting, Robert Juliet, MDG Fog, Araton, and a few other things like the Green Hippo Media Servers, I think, are your newest addition. So, Amanda, how did you get in this business and what do you do exactly as part of the software support team?
Yeah, I got into this business actually from a tennis match, and somebody knew I was into film, and they're like, "Hey, we need a lighting designer for theater." And I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a try." And so I did, and I fell in love with it. And then I went to San Diego State University, continued there, and I went to LDI for my first time, my senior year, and I ran into ACT, and I knew I wanted to do Grand MA and learn it to go out on tour. And they were offering a whole bunch of educational opportunities, and I saw they had an internship program, so I applied, and then the rest is kind of history.
Well, there you go. That's great. So, in terms of live events, what do you like to go to or work on?
Love going to concerts. You could probably find me at any concert. My friends always ask, "Hey, are you down to go to this?" I'm always a yes. I also really like sporting events. I love the integration of like fireworks and lasers that they've been bringing into each stadium too. I find that super interesting. So those are my two favorites to go to, but I still love going to musicals and then dragging my mom to see all these different plays with me.
Are you based in California?
Yeah, so I'm originally from New York and then I'm based in San Diego, but I work in the Burbank office for ACT.
Okay, great. So, would you consider yourself good, bad, or neutral with money?
I would consider myself neutral. I'm not going to say good or bad, but neutral for sure. I'm definitely the type of person who will invest in something that I believe in, or I'll donate my money, which I think is a good thing. But at the same time, like balancing out my money and all my bills, that's when it becomes a little bit more difficult, especially with the commute, like spending all the money on gas. But then I'm over here trying to donate and raise money for all these foundations. So I don't want to give that part up. So that's why I say I'm neutral. I spend money for good causes. So I think that counts.
Well, that's good. Do you still do freelance work or are you just full time with ACT?
Yeah, I do some freelance work. I opened up, or I guess I registered my Gougelmann Productions LLC, which is pretty exciting. But yeah, I do freelance work. I mostly do a lot of stagehand work because VA House Arena and the Cal Coast Credit Union Open Air Theater, they gave me the opportunity to first work as a stagehand in like a huge venue. So I love going back there and just doing work for them.
So, when you do that, how do you approach pricing your work or services?
I spent a lot of time asking people how I should do this. So I try and go with what everyone's telling me that they've done and how they've grown. So if I'm doing stagehand work, I don't price it as high as if I was doing programming work. And then if I bring my own equipment, I kind of bring that price as well. So it honestly all came from just asking around and seeing kind of what the general idea was in the industry at the time and how it's ever moving.
What do you think is the biggest financial lesson you've learned so far?
This is going to sound awful, but you just have to invest in yourself. I used to definitely be the type of person where I'm like, okay, this one's like $12 cheaper. I should just get the cheaper one. But then it doesn't last me as long. So I think I've come to realize that you truly do need to invest in yourself and your future. Because if you do it now, you're going to grow and you're going to continue to network rather than having to continuously rebuy things, repurchase things, go back and do it all over again. You can just continue to grow if you just invest in yourself.
Absolutely. Have you started thinking about retirement?
No, I know I should. I know I should, but no, I have not.
Wait, can I jump in? And this makes no difference, and you don't have to say this at all. Your age, I'm just curious.
I'm 23.
Okay, okay, all right. I just wanted to like gauge that, how far away retirement is or could be.
Hopefully far.
Yeah, it seems really, really far, but I'll give you 2 years. I think at 25, you should really start getting good advice.
I know. My mom, she always tries to tell me and give me advice, but I don't know. I'm too scared to think about it right now. But I do know I should.
It creeps up on you really fast. So I'd say from 25 on, you should really give it some serious thought.
I do have a savings account though. So I do put away money for retirement.
Well, that's good.
Okay, wait, I just have to jump in. Is it a high yields saving account?
I think so.
That's that's my new push on the podcast is making sure everybody has high yield savings account versus one that gives them zero interest. Okay, good talk.
Yeah, no, I think that's super important. I did not know that at first, and then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, my money is just sitting here. Nothing is happening with it, which could be a good or a bad thing, but it was definitely a bad thing at the time.
Yeah, you should probably talk to somebody and figure out whether you want like a Roth IRA or, what the best option for you is in the future so that you're automatically putting away for savings in a retirement fund. But you have a little time. You're young yet. How have you navigated financial stability during slow times in the industry? Or were you too young to worry about that?
No, I've definitely dealt with that. I think probably not to the extent of other people, but I have had other jobs while freelancing, especially before ACT. I did a whole bunch of freelancing stagehand work, not just in like entertainment, but like changeovers from concerts to basketball floor, and then resetting up the whole entire stadium seating, and then also having part-time jobs. Like I worked a lot in retail and also the food industry, just so I had that extra set of cash to continue to be able to freelance and grow.
That's great. Do you use any specific tools or software to help you budget or keep track of your finances?
No. Oh, well, I use Excel. Does that count?
Yeah. Do you do a budget?
Yeah, I was using this app called, I think it's called Budget Now, but I found out I'm pretty bad at putting it into an app. I do keep all of my receipts, and I track like how much I spend on personal stuff, how much I spend on work, and then how much I spend on necessities. So I kind of separate that, and then I have a journal that I put into an Excel sheet.
Well, that sounds good. I think as long as you have a budget, it's important, right?
Yes, definitely.
How has networking and relationship building impacted your financial and career growth?
The more networking I've done, the more advice I've gotten. For example, the savings account would never have known the difference, honestly. But honestly, just talking to a whole bunch of people has helped me grow financially, just knowing what their experience was, and that what they didn't know, they're generous enough to share with me, and I hope to pass along to others, especially about like getting insurance for everything and being able to protect yourself and your company and investing in yourself as a whole. I would have never known anything unless was able to network with all these people, not just from ACT or from college, but just talking to people and cold emailing, asking for advice.
Do you have long-term career goals? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years?
In 5 or 10 years, I do want to go out and travel and go on tour. But I also want to work for a specific venue at some point, like hopefully be like the lighting supervisor or director, specifically at a sporting venue, just because I want to get into sport lighting a little bit more, specifically like football or soccer, because I just love the shadows it can create. But then also being able to have tours come through and being able to network that way as well is such a huge lesson I learned working at Viejas Arena, because you got both sides of it and you just meet so many more people and create so many different connections.
That's interesting.
Yeah. You had mentioned journaling, like the Excel document for budgeting. What does journaling budget look like, or what is that?
It's essentially like I keep the receipts, I'll write down everything that I spent in I have like different columns, and then I just basically put it into an Excel sheet. So I have a digital copy as well, because, we lose things as humans. I cannot pretend that I don't lose stuff. So
No, that's awesome. That's what I just wasn't sure. I was like, what is that journal like? Today I'm feeling about money this, and I see you're writing it all down. Yeah.
no. It just right. I just have it all in like a few different spots. So if I ever, for example, I'm traveling now, like I need to be able to keep track of everything that I spent. So it's a great tool.
Amazing. I do a similar thing where I have an Excel document with all the tax areas and whatever. And so I used to be really good, like once a month, I would, at the end of the month or something, I would like do it. Now I do it like at tax time, and it's horrible.
It's okay. It's okay. You still do it though. That's what counts.
So, what do you think makes the Grand MA console so popular?
What you're able to do with it, like how you can create your own workflow. It's not just set in stone. You have to do it this way. There's so many different ways to get to the same result. Like if you like being hands-on with the screen, for example, just creating your own, being able to create your own workflow, accommodating to users, that's what makes it so popular. I personally also just love like anything that you can do to manipulate your selection is a personal standout for me. But then again, I've only been really diving into Grand MA deeply for the past like 2-ish years. So I don't really have much to compare with anymore. At least from teaching, that's what I hear a lot of feedback about.
Somebody on Facebook the other day posted a picture of an Grand MA1,
Oh
and
my
they were
gosh.
like, I can get a really, really good deal on this. Should I buy it? And I thought everybody was going to say, oh, send it to a museum or something, you know? And actually, a couple people said, if it works well, and you can really, make sure it works well, there's still a whole lot of stuff you could do with it.
Yeah, no, you definitely can. Definitely. I mean, we still talk to people who use MA1. Definitely weird going back between the original Grand MA, MA2, and then MA3. They all look so different, but still the same core concept.
Talking about the lighting consoles, and then you were talking about investing in yourself. Do you like, are you buying any equipment or anything for yourself, or is it just like trainings when you say invest in yourself?
I think both, like for everyone, like as a whole, investing in education, getting yourself the opportunity is super important because that's something I didn't do at first because, I didn't know and I was cheap with my money. I was stingy. Like I said, I would buy the $12 cheaper thing, but now I understand not to. Investing in the education, not like here to sell a class, but like investing in your education is not only to learn what you're there to learn, like regardless if it's like an MA class or I don't know, a networking class, the people that you're in the class with also are your new connections. They're new people that you met. They're somebody you can go to for questions or advice now. Like you now have that whole connection, and that's just one more person to add to your network.
Well, you also mentioned networking classes, which I think you meant like networking, but I'm thinking like cables networking. But it just triggered me because I'm like, I understand networking for lighting,
Yeah.
how to turn a light on when I need to get it on. Like that's how I understand networking. And I'm like, Ethan, you need to go to like a networking class so that you can understand this because everybody seems to think it's really easy to understand and you're behind the curve. So maybe at LDI, I need to look up a networking class.
You do. We have a great Ethernet for entertainment class. I think it's on Saturday. You should pop in.
All right, I'm gonna go find it. Speaking of LDI though, Amanda, that was like the best pitch for LDI we have ever heard, where you said, "Oh, I went to LDI and I saw Act Entertainment, and now you're working for them."
Yeah.
What's interesting as an aside is that Ben Saltzman, who is the head of Act Entertainment, was our intern many years ago at LDI. That was how he got his start. So we're very proud of Ben.
Oh, that's awesome. The two people I went to LDI with my first time also interned for ACT as well because we took the art for of programming, and that was the first time we touched a Grand MA3, and then we found ACT. We all interned there.
Oh, that's so funny.
You might have already mentioned this and it went over my head, but you're talking at LDI this year.
I'll be teaching at LDA and then also on the floor. I mean, I just love teaching. I hope someone takes one thing out of my class. Something I always tell my students is like, if there's one thing you do want to learn in the class, of course it's the content, but also to not be afraid to reach out. Like we all forget things. You're not alone in the industry, which I feel like sometimes people feel that way in a sense, or might be too scared to reach out to others for help or ask questions because it's like, oh, I should know this. I should know how to patch a fixture. But you know what? We all forget sometimes. So like don't hesitate to reach out because your one question is gonna lead you to like a 10 million ideas of what you can do and will do next. So I find that super important.
Think you're teaching one of the 2-day Grand MA beginner classes, right? The MA3? Oh, okay.
I taught beginner last year. I taught both of them. It was so much fun. I loved it. I mean, I just love teaching. So
And I want to echo your point about like reaching out with a question, even if you've like moved on from the class or forget something. Because something that I do with students is I will call like the helpline. And I'm like, when we have a problem, even if it's super basic, I like, let's call because like getting through the phone tree or getting to the right place, there's somebody somewhere in the world that knows this console inside out or knows this equipment inside out, and you can get through to them on the customer service line. And I find that as an exercise because it's like, where do you go to when it's help? When like you're like, I want to avoid the social media forum. I don't want to go to the Facebook group because like everyone will laugh at me or whatever. It's like, well, you can just call the company and they're not going to laugh at you.
No, yeah, definitely not. If anything, I'll talk to you for 10 more minutes. So,
Yeah, exactly. And like we never call Amanda again because it was 3 hours later and we got lots of answers.
all your questions were answered.
But the show opened without the console.
Expanded.
Actually, let me correct myself. You are teaching the 2-day intermediate class, and then you're also teaching something called Grand MA3 for the Grand MA2 user.
Yeah.
So what's that class about?
That class is about bridging the gap for those who use Grand MA2, Mode 2. They use MA3 hardware, and they want to jump into the MA3 software. So it goes over how the core values are the same between MA2, MA3, and honestly MA1 too. Just kind of like the differences of the software and new features and how like networking is not different, but like how you can use all three ports, for example, on the console. So just kind of like bridging the gap between the two softwares, hopefully making it a lot less scary for people to do the jump between MA2 and MA3. But it just kind of is a load of information about differences and similarities to kind of get that going.
Does ACT still have an internship program?
Yeah, we do. We currently have an intern at the moment.
Great. I'll tell all our young career professionals to come by and see you.
Yeah, definitely have them wave me down on the floor. Again, I'll talk for hours to them. So
Amanda's just going to be getting a bunch of people coming to her and like, it's going to be a question about Grand MA. And then it's going to be, do you have an internship or how can I intern? Grand MA intern, Grand MA intern, revolving door.
I'm going to have to print out a QR code and be like, scan here.
Right.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, it sounds like you're going to be super busy at LDI, but I'm curious if you aren't going to get any time to yourself to roam the show floor or anything like that. Is there something on a personal level you're looking forward to doing there?
Honestly, just seeing everyone, like it's so nice to be able to see people I went to school with coming out to LDI. It's super nice to see like some of my professors who like spoke there last time and just walking around the show floor. Honestly, I think that's the most exciting part, being able to see people you and also meet people. We talk to a lot of people over email and phone, like, and I reach out to people all the time over email, but I can never put a face to the name, and LDI is like a great place to do that. And it just sparks so much inspiration because you see all these new fixtures and features and across the board as a whole. And so I think that's really awesome. And then I also love the I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the young professional program.
Yeah, the young career professionals. Yep.
I love talking to people in that program because they're just like so bright with ideas and like wants in the industry. So just hearing everyone's different perspectives, honestly, about what they want to do and where they want to take their career is super inspiring. On the personal level, that's what I'm excited for. I love hearing everyone's story.
Well, Amanda, this was amazing. It was great to meet you. I know you were busy on a personal level, and then I also know that ACT Entertainment is just super busy right now. So thank you so much for taking half hour for us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
And we look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas.
For sure. See you there.
That's it for this week's episode. Now, my takeaways are, wow, what a pitch for LDI. Seeing ACT Entertainment there, and now you're working with them. Gougelmann Productions, LLC. Amanda has opened that up, though most of the work she's doing freelancing is stagehand work, so she doesn't really need that yet, but it's a part of her strategy and she has it. Pricing services by asking other people, aka trying to find the market rate for different jobs, whether it be a stagehand or a programmer. That's the thing that we say on this show all the time. It's just ask other people. That's a really good way to do it, especially if you don't have a clue. Networking, getting advice from people through networking, and cold emailing. Amanda said that professionally she has learned about getting insurance, protecting yourself and your company, and she's also learned through networking personal things like putting savings into a high yield savings account. Investing in yourself. What was interesting about this was when Amanda said not just for a class, that's one part of it, but the people who take the class with you or the people who teach it are now in your network for questions and advice. Pointing it out because a theme of these LDI episodes has been showing up, and by doing so, that's networking without feeling like networking. So what's a way to show up? Taking a class. That is showing up for yourself, and it automatically taps you into the industry. Adding on to that, she mentioned that as a teacher, she's always open to anyone who's taken her class to reach out to her with questions. It's easy to feel alone in the industry, but hey, you are not. And reaching out is totally acceptable and it's totally expected. And it's never something to be concerned about not knowing basic information or something. I know that no one has ever reached out to me with a lighting question that I didn't answer to the best of my ability. So if you've ever had a question, but you didn't want to ask it because it seemed too basic, you're just going to waste your time trying to figure it out yourself when you could pick up the phone and call or text somebody. An example from my life is that a lighting designer once asked me how to dim string lights. Now that might seem like a simple enough thing, but they were prepping a show and they just weren't sure how to do it. So I gave them the answer. And that led to them having a follow-up question, which I answered. And then after that, they had figured it out. So while it was simple enough for me, never once during the process did I think, they could have figured that out on their own. Because once we know something, once I know something, we sometimes forget that we know it or that we learned it until we meet somebody who doesn't know. And never would we expect anyone to know everything. So life is too short to waste an hour trying to figure out something super simple. So just remember you're not alone and you can literally just ask anybody in the industry for advice. All right, if you've been listening to all these recent episodes, you might be tired of me talking about LDI, but the conference is now just a week away, as in 1 week, I will be in Las Vegas. If you're anywhere near and you want to stop by for one of our recordings, remember that you can register for the conference for free by using code Artistic Finance, all one word, all caps. That's for an expo hall pass and it gets you into the trade show floor and to a lot of free sessions like ours. Now ours are at 11 a.m. on Sunday the 8th and Monday the 9th, and they are with former guests Ebony Madry, Erica D. Hayes, and Emily D. Lux. And we have some new people I've never met, programmers Matt Mills and Matt Gaminsky, who is the hog expert, and Zach Burgett of Wasted Potential based out in LA. I'm looking forward to both of these sessions because even though I am very introverted, I do love meeting people who are in our industry. So hopefully see you soon at one of those. And before we wrap up this episode, if you are enjoying this podcast and you would like to help me out, there are several things that you can do, and you can pick your poison here. You can follow or subscribe to Artistic Finance on your podcast app. Now, this is important because we recently reached a threshold where ads can run during our episodes. So for every 10 episodes or so, the show gets a penny. Now, we certainly don't have the scale for that to be impactful, but hey, every bit helps. And if you do follow or subscribe, setting it to auto download helps as well. And a really great thing is to leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. And if you want to directly support me and not worry about those other things, the best way to do that is to join up as a patron, which you'll get early releases, at least when I'm organized enough to edit them early, and you'll get ad-free episodes. You can sign up at patreon.com/artisticfinance. All right, so any of those things are very helpful and you have my thanks in advance. Now, the dad joke to end this episode is one that I came across on the internet and for some reason found it really funny. But here it goes. So yesterday I was out doing some holiday shopping and I was about to go into this shop and a talking crow stopped me and asked if I wanted to give to its charity. Now, I've been feeling in the holiday spirit, so I said, oh, maybe, what is your charity? And the crow said, caw, 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 caw. It's for good cause. That's it for today. Until next time, break a leg.
Thank you for listening to Artistic Finance, where we interview successful artists, leaders, and investors to help educate and inspire the creative community. To access our show notes and resources, go to artisticfinance.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any decision, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Artistic Finance. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.